It's Tuesday night. We are doing some last minute race prep for the Buckeye Brawl coming up this Saturday. We'll have a normal club race tomorrow night where we're going to be able to test out the cars and make sure that everything is ready to go. This weekend, we will be running, of course, the Losi NASCAR, my precious and all-time favorite, the Tamiya TT02. And in the breakout 4-second class, we'll be running the Oval Works 2023 Assassin, which is a 25.5 LTO tour truck. I'm Chad, this is the Dorky N40 RC channel. Let's talk about our race prep. So what do I do before a big race? Wait a minute, how rude for me not to invite all of you. I mean, if you live in, I don't know, Michigan, Kentucky, Indiana, whatever, and you're bored to death this weekend, come on up and race with us here at Mansfield RC Raceway. Nice, small track, lots of fun, good people, my people. We will all be having a blast. I know there's people that are driving in from out of states and stuff like that. So everybody is welcome. Well, obviously there's a lot of things that we can do. You need to make sure that you got everything that you need to race. What have I been doing? Well, I've been going through and doing a lot of things like tire prep. So for example, on the left turn only truck here, what I need to do is replace these foam tires, which are a little worn down. They should have a little bit more life on them. I could probably get through this weekend, but I have a fresh set on here. We'll go ahead and throw these on, lube up the bearings, all that kind of stuff. Haven't ran the truck a lot, actually just replaced the ESC that is in here. Used to be a just stock only type of class with the 25.5 motor. So more of a slower introductory oval type of class. But the new Hobbywing G3 just stocks don't work with 1S batteries. They just don't, even with boosters. So the electronics with them must need more than 6 volts to operate, which is unfortunate. So what they did in the local like chassis tours that are going on around the Midwest Ohio region here is they allowed us to swap out to the stock 1S system, which is what I put in here. The performance differences, they say, are very minimal, if any at all. It is a little bit lighter and there are more programming features. There's really not much to do, so I'll just get it out there and run it and see what's going on. I don't need to do any car setup because the car setup was never changed for this size of tire because your foam tires are cut and true down. But I will obviously test it, make sure everything runs good. Looking forward to dialing this baby in. We typically run about 3.8, anywhere from 3.75 to about 3.85 hot laps with these. So we'll have to take a little bit of power out of it. When it comes to breakout, you basically win the race by getting as many laps as close to 4 seconds as possible. If you go faster than 4 seconds, the lap does not count. But in the end, you want that, the ideal lap would be 4 seconds on the dot. So let's say that I get 55 laps at 4 seconds on the dot. The next guy gets 55 laps at 4.01. Then that means that I win because I was closer to 4 seconds and had the same amount of laps. So now what are we doing with the Losi NASCAR? So I know a lot of people are on the channel now because of this little thing, and I really appreciate all of you guys. Hopefully we can deliver a victory. That is my goal, and have this car running great. Now that the car has been cleaned up and run in a little bit and all the other things that I've done with this car, it seems to be pretty fast on the oval, but pretty close to like the hot lap, if not tied with the hot lap, I think, last week. The one thing about oval racing with these is going to be survivability and be able to get through traffic and take a hit. These cars are very light. They're very light on their feet. And when you get into trouble, they like to kind of bounce off of each other, and it can shoot you into a very bad position. Last week, I kind of got caught with my pants down per se because I wasn't being aggressive with the tire prep. I was trying to keep the car nice and loose. I was prepping a little bit up front so that way I could get some more steering when I was coming into our corners on the oval. But what that did was create more forward traction, reduce traction in the rear, and I ended up having a couple spin outs. So we're going to have to play with the prep, and just to play it safe, I'm always going to probably put some kind of tire prep on the back tires, usually just the back inside left tire. Now, the other thing that I have done is I have prepared 2 right front tires, both with different amount of glue. What will happen during an oval is that as the groove starts to wear into the track and you get more and more tire prep and the track heats up, the traction is going to start to come up, and these cars do like to start lifting a little bit. Now, you want to run your shocks as your collars, you want them up about as high as you can get. You probably want to turn the one on this side down because during an oval, you're always going to be rolling that way and pushing that way. So I usually jack this one all the way down and leave these at about 1 millimeter down from the top of the shock cap. The other thing that you can do is if you look at this tire, I prepared 2 different tires. So I basically have a lower traction tire where the tire glue just comes right up the sidewall there. And then I have a higher traction tire where the tire comes up to the sidewall and actually just eclipses the radius of the tire a little bit. So that way, if I notice that as the race goes on and we've got hundreds of cars running around, you know, thousands of laps basically, that if this thing starts to getting too tippy and I still need to put tire compound on the back in order to keep it, you know, equalized and all that stuff, this extra tire that's actually on here now with the extra glue coming around the side should provide enough reinforcement to keep the car and the left side of it down. So that way I've got enough steering to not push around the corner and I can get around there and keep the tightest line that I can. Now, this car runs the fastest for sure, the less any oval car actually does, matter of fact, when you're not on the steering as much. And that is going to come in very, very clear this weekend running these classes that are all super close and highly competitive. All of us are very close to each other when it comes to racing our times with this. And TT02 is kind of one of, I would say, our house classes that we have really, really pushed the envelope on what a box stock can do with us and another racetrack where we've really just kind of ironed it out. You could go back and watch some of my TT02 videos and see the times and all that kind of stuff that we're doing with a box stock car with a lot of love and attention to it. So I've rebuilt the TT02 more times than I have this Losi, but this Losi is catching up real quick. But the TT02 has had a lot of love, and let's take a look at it right now. So the biggest thing with the TT02, again, is once you get it going fast, it really is all about survivability. And the survivability of the TT02 really starts with the body. We have the best luck with this McAllister Mustang body here. And the reason why is it's just kind of the right thickness and everything else where this baby can take some hits. And when you get into a 50-50 battle, whether you hit somebody or you get hit, it seems to come out on top more often than not. Now, my super rad body back there is definitely a faster body for oval and for on-road racing. It's lighter and it does seem to suck the car down into the track a lot more. The problem is it is very flimsy, and unlike these cars with the Losis bouncing off of each other, if you take a solid shot with this TT02, which is way heavier than the Losi, something is either going to break or yeah, something's probably going to break. So having that heavier body definitely makes a big difference. So when it comes to the TT02, we again run a box stock class with a few additions to make the car and the experience more enjoyable. We allow front metal CVAs and drive cups to keep the dog bones from popping out. We allow bearings, and we also allow a servo saver of any kind of your choice. And we also allow you to change same tooth count, which I believe is a 22. I would have to double check 22 or a 20. I think it's 22, but we highly encourage everybody to upgrade from the Tamiya because the Tamiya metal pinion will wear down very quickly. It's made out of like a really cheap type of pot metal, and it gives you bad gear mesh. It's just not as fast. Just putting the pinion in there alone is at least worth a tenth of a second if you're running your hot laps. Now, we did the other thing with the TT02 tire that we did with the Losi. So I have a regular TT02 tire here that has the glue that is right above the apex of the tire. And then I have another one over there that is just a sidewall. Generally, I'll probably just run this tire the entire time anyway. And by the way, all of these tires and the tires on the Losi are also balanced with the DURBO propeller balancer. I've got a link to one of that in the description below if you want to support the channel to an Amazon affiliate. Other than that, the other key to my TT02, I believe being super fast, even though it's not on here right now, is my R1 Mud Boss battery. It's just the best, fastest battery that I've ever had in 2S. It's also the heaviest one. And I think that having that heavier battery on the left side gives me an advantage because we're turning left and having as much weight on that side is great. Not allowed to add any additional weight. You're allowed to run any 2S stick pack or shorty pack. So it's kind of what it is. I've been running these Z batteries in on-road just because they're the lightest one that I can find. And this equipment over here does not weigh very much, so it kind of helps balance the car out very good. I will have to cut off my zip ties that I have here holding on the shock caps. That's just kind of something we do during on-road because there's nothing worse than running a TT02 race, making it to the final, getting in a wreck, and having something silly like that where one of the shock caps will pop off and you basically can't finish the race. So part of TT02 racing is we got the new people here, and these aren't really a performance upgrade, but what it does is it keeps people on the track and keeps them from getting frustrated. Some people won't agree with it and some people don't. I'll just cut mine off and what happens, happens. But I'm always a proponent of either shrink tubing or zip ties or something like that on that top shock cap just to keep you running. You already have a good chance of breaking hubs and all that kind of stuff. So we also require like bullet connectors of any kind. You can't direct solder your motor. I probably could take the motor out and clean it out a little bit and lube it up and all that kind of stuff. But I am pretty confident that after running this at the last on-road race, that this is probably the fastest and best driving I have ever got my TT02. And there's been a lot of custom work built into it per se, as far as making my gears as perfect as possible, making sure that everything just spins as freely as possible. This thing is set up for speed, and you know, I'm pretty stoked with the way everything goes. Like again, you can go back and look at all the different videos. All of the TT02 speed secret stuff is in there. We also have a new chassis on there that we did. We put the highest end of the Sanwa receiver in there so I could have the best when it comes to on-road. I also upgraded the servo to get a little bit faster of a servo in there. I've got 2 transponders in there. I'll just go ahead and leave both of them in there, even though we only used the one at our track. I just don't feel like it and everything. And another important thing that I did replace was this spur gear cover. My holes were stripped out and things were not attaching very well, but this holds the motor in place, and there's also bearings that ride inside there, so it's kind of like a bearing carrier as well. So you want to make sure that all of this stuff is going in there properly, tweak it all the way down, and then back it off a little bit, and you should be good to go. So other than that, it's just getting everything to the track, getting the batteries going and getting them nice and warmed up and cycled and all that stuff. And in the end, having a great time with all my buddies, some that I don't get to see very often and some that I get to see too often. So let the games begin. Come back to the channel to see how we do. We'll have another Losi video update hopefully before that, because we're going to just take it to the track tomorrow night and leave all this stuff here and try to get an early confidence dub going on with the Losi tomorrow night. So love all you guys. Peace. Talk to you later.